Matt, thank you so much for being here. I have been a salesman my whole life, and I've been surrounded by top salesmen in all different industries. Just met you for the first time in Houston recently, and I told you, and I meant it, I said, I think you're one of the most talented people I've ever come across in sales. Just instantaneously, just listening to it, you talk, the way you articulate things. It was very like trippy for me, and I had to like really do a lot of introspection, and because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I'm surrounded by like incredible salespeople. I've closed millions, and I'm just like, why am I so intrigued with Matt? It's because I think you have a very different methodology, and it really tripped me up. But then it really made sense to me when I realized that you help like salespeople who are at around about 100K, who are already in the top 1%, you help them get to like $1 million plus. And that's 10 times more. And so to do something 10 times more, you probably have to do a pretty radically different approach, which is pretty amazing to see that. And you've closed over 40 million in sales, which I don't know if I've ever met anyone in our world that's done that. I don't think I have, actually. How in the world did you get into this world?
Let me start by saying I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, sure, man.
I appreciate your words. That is wildly humbling. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean it.
You know, I didn't have the best of childhoods growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make this a sob story, but I've basically been on my own since I was 15. And when you're not old enough to even legally work, what do? So I saw an ad in the classifieds that said $100 to $300 cash paid daily. I said, that's for me.
Yeah.
And so I showed up.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
When I got there, it was an office warehouse that
Yeah.
was filled with deep chest freezers that had boxes of frozen steaks in it.
Yeah.
And they tried to teach me how to sell frozen steaks out of a truck going door to door.
Yeah.
And I worked it for 2 weeks, and I was an introvert.
Okay.
And I failed miserably.
Okay.
After 2 weeks, I made a grand like $40.
Right.
I was so upset. My thought was, I'm going to show up to check out tonight,
Yeah.
and I'm going to throw in the towel. My entire sales career is done. But then I had an epiphany, because I see these guys come in, and they clearly had their own problems.
Yeah.
And they would show up. They would make $700,000 in a day.
Yeah.
They would disappear for 3 or 4 days, go on a bender. They would come back when they ran out of money.
Yeah.
And they would do it all over again.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it rained, sleeted, snowed, zombie apocalypse. Like they made their money.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. Like if a drug addict can do this,
Yeah.
I can do this. There's got to be a system behind it.
Yeah.
And so I spent the next few decades, reverse engineering that.
It's funny, man. I've been telling this story for around about the past decade. A very similar story. The exact moment I became a millionaire, I was completely broke. And it's very similar in the sense that I was part of some like MLM network marketing thing, whatever it was. I don't even know. And like, same thing. I was making zero sales. But then every week we would have this like call where everyone's like, oh, this week I made 3,000. I made 5,000. I made 10,000. I'm looking at this group. I'm like, with all due respect, man, this is like a group of oddballs that are, really not that talented and kind of tech illiterate and kind of strange. I'm like, well, if these guys can do it, well, then why can't I do it? And it was that belief shift where instantaneously after like just zero sales, immediately the next day, boom, my first $500, and then it just took off. And you're the first person I've ever heard, have the same story. So you were selling the steak door to door, right?
That's correct.
When I first got exposed to like this like marketing world, I went to this conference and it was like really weird. It was kind of culty. There was all like these like really young people, and they all had like really good teeth, and they're all like really good looking, and they all had like a bunch of kids, and they all like were like young and like rich. And I'm like, what is this? Like, where am I? I find out, and I don't think it has really per se anything to do with the religion, but I find out that a lot of these guys are Mormon. And I was like, okay, you're Mormon, so I don't really know too much about that, what that means, but I'm like, why are y'all like successful and young, and you all seem to have your head screwed on? And they're like, well, and I actually figured it out by interviewing a bunch of them. It comes down to the door-to-door selling that they were doing. I believe they were missionaries, and their job was to go door to door and talk about religion, which I think is probably one of the most difficult things in the world. Maybe not as tough as selling steaks, but door to door. But I think that's a really valuable skill set to have, and I would actually encourage my own kids to sell something door to door. I did. I sold Cutco knives. Because the truth is, if you could survive door-to-door sales, I mean, you develop a pretty thick skin, and you can pretty much survive anything. Because that's the job of an entrepreneur, right? Like a salesperson is an entrepreneur. Is you're gonna get knocked down constantly, and your job is to just get right back up. You're gonna hear no. Your job is to be totally fine with that and keep going. How did you? I mean, so by the way, 15 years old. I mean, who did you live with?
I had a friend who was a little bit older than me. He was 19.
Okay.
And he let me rent a room in his apartment.
You rented a room at 15 years old?
In his apartment, yep.
15 years old. What grade is that? Do you remember?
That would have been my freshman year.
So ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade, you rented a room. That's wild, man. What a wild story.
What a wild
story. Do you believe that? I'm going to say something kind of interesting. Do you believe that a good salespeople has to be a bit of a sociopath?
No, I don't think so. I believe that everybody's in sales.
Yes.
A lot of them just don't realize it. Mm-hmm. And so I actually used my career in orthopedics as a great example. Mm-hmm. Because while I've always done sales, and even when I was in orthopedics, I always had a sales gig selling. But I was a high school dropout. I dropped out of college 4 times.
Wow.
Now I'm going to work at a medical institution. I'm surrounded by MD PhDs. A lot of them have their MBAs also, and they put so much emphasis on those degrees. But somehow I worked my way up from a phlebotomist all the way up to the head of clinical research.
What is a phlebotomist?
Just somebody who draws blood.
Right. Okay.
And so I went up from that all the way to the head of clinical research at the busiest level 1 trauma center in the world. Wow. And I don't say that to highlight my innate intelligence. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. It's enthusiasm and holding the frame. It's knowing how to sell yourself.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, I wonder though, have you had clients that are, I mean, look, maybe a little bit of a limiting belief with me is I do feel that you're extremely intelligent. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. This guy's just really, really smart. I don't know if I could be as good as him in sales. Do you have people clients of yours that are very successful that are not as smart as you?
I don't necessarily think I'm smarter than anybody else. I think I just have more expertise in different things. Everybody in this world has something to teach me.
Yeah. So have you seen someone that's not so bright do really well in sales?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Because, just like when you look at, people that are multimillionaires, a lot of them are not that intelligent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of them just had a good idea, or they just had good work ethic, or they were just around the right people.
Yeah.
So I had a guy come to me. He was very introverted. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the smartest chip on the block, but he was in college. I think he was in his sophomore year, and he decided that college just wasn't for him. He didn't have the grades, and he didn't want to finish. Yeah. So he's trying to figure out what to do with the rest of his life. And that's when he found me. And he asked me if I could give him some career advice. Yeah. And so I did. Ultimately, I picked him up as a student and taught him how to do sales. Okay. And so before he would have graduated with a college degree, he was already making $50,000, $60,000 a year. Yeah. I don't know of anybody who leaves college with a bachelor and makes that in the first few years.
I don't know either. I mean, how did this transition happen? You go from a top salesperson to actually training salespeople. How did that transition take place?
Oh, that transition happened when I was very young.
Really?
Very young. So my first job as a sales trainer and recruiter was actually selling steaks door to door. So at 20 years old.
Must be a tough gig though, because it's the strangers are offering me meat. I don't know, is it bad? Is it going to give me food poisoning? It must be a tough gig.
Oh, I've got some crazy stories for you. At 20 years old, I was a national sales trainer and recruiter for people that wanted to do door-to-door sales,
Yeah.
selling steaks. Now, it sounds like a hard gig.
Yeah.
It's actually incredibly simple.
Really? Okay. I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah, it's an impulse sale. And so we would use something called a box close.
Okay.
And at that point, it's all about numbers. Now, I don't play the numbers game anymore. I value my time too much. But I started training then. And then every job I've had thereafter, after I hit top of the board, they always wanted me to do some training.
Yeah.
And then I started working at the software company that I was at when I resigned from the University of Texas. And again, I started training people.
Yeah.
But this time it was different and it was harder because the people that I were training were clinical researchers. Many of them were data-driven and introverts.
Yeah.
And I had to turn them into people who could do enterprise sales to, the top 10 pharma companies.
Very interesting. Yeah. Why? Actually, I don't have the answer to this, which is pretty interesting. A lot of people start in sales, they hit 10,000 a month in that world. 10,000 a month in that world. A lot of them, which is a great accomplishment, they hit that. That means they hit roughly the top 10%, which is pretty nuts to think that the top 10% is at 10K a month. It's so much opportunities in sales. But why is it that a lot of them get stuck there?
Complacency. When you have made it to 100K a year,
Yeah.
You're not in the top 1%, but you're in the top 5%. You've solved for survival.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your bills. You're living comfortably. And I think people tend to find their comfort zone there, and they don't like to step out of it. I feel like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
And that's the only way.
That's the only way.
Kind of sucks.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
Yeah, it's just the truth, isn't it? And I guess that's the answer, isn't it? That most people just don't want to, and so they're not growing. They just want to be comfortable. Wow, and it's crazy because I mean, obviously, maybe someone's heard that before, but just the way you put it is very reflective. Wow. So, what's your methodology? I mean, you're 10xing someone's no joke. Like me taking someone from like 10 to like 12 or 15. Okay, fine. Maybe like a little tweaking in there, but you're literally 10xing people, taking them, showing them how to get from like 10K a month to like 100,000 a month in that world. I mean, walk me through that journey.
So I get people of all different levels. When I get somebody who's starting out in sales, I really like to focus on my theory. I call it the theory of games. And basically it works like this. Game theory is basically the idea that you can lay out a finite number of moves. So if you're playing somebody in checkers, there is a very finite number of moves that they can take, meaning that you can map out the entire game. And then now you're able to leverage that to actually win. Now, sales gods are not born. I want to be crystal clear. There are no sales gods born.
Really? That's news to me.
They're made. Wow. Sales is a skill. It's like being a musician, right? Wow. It's a skill that you have to learn. And if you want to master a skill, you have to use it as much as inhumanly possible. So what I do is I train my students, especially at the lower levels, to use this in their everyday life. I literally change the way that they interact with the world.
Yeah.
As an example, this drives my wife crazy to this day. If I go in through a drive-through, I'm going to try and get something free. I don't care.
How do you do that?
One of my favorite ways is I'll pull up to the window, I'll order my food, and I'll say, hey, listen, I forgot my wife's birthday. She's sitting right next to me, and she is mad. Can you do me a favor and give me the toy from the kids' meal? It would go a long way, brother.
Yeah.
Now, do I want the toy from the kids' meal? No.
I don't know. Okay.
It's all about the sale.
Right.
Yeah, if they give me free fries, I'm giving it to the homeless guy at the corner. Right? Yeah. So when you go and order your coffee, you're not ordering a latte.
Yeah.
You're in your confidence gymnasium.
Yeah.
And I want you to try some jujitsu.
Yeah. You see, that's eye-opening for me because I have it's funny, my cousin's like that. And I actually got mad at him because I'm like, we were at some marketplace or something and he's negotiating. I'm like, man, let the guy make some money, man. The guy's standing here all day behind the table selling, I don't know, whatever the hell it was. It was probably like little trinkets. I'm like, man, the guy's standing here all day in the sun. Let him make his money. But what are you gonna And he's like, it's not even about the money. It's the game of it. And I was like, At the time, I didn't really respect that, but the way you're putting it is, I mean, I guess that's how you have to sharpen your sword.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, I do the same thing. Again, it drives my wife crazy, right? Because we can go to a flea market and there will be somebody there, they'll have their booth and they're not making a lot of money, but I will go over there and I will negotiate the best deal I can possibly get.
Yeah.
And I'll pay him more than he asks. Right? But
I like that.
It's
I like that.
closing the deal.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, I'm going to try that. You've inspired me to do that. One of the most fascinating things that I've seen from you is I have seen people kill it in like poker and things of that nature, and it's because they know how to read people and they instantly know when they're bluffing, and they just clean up. Something that I never really mastered. I'm just like an all-in kind of guy. And so, but you seem to teach salespeople how to instantly take a look at a prospect, put them in a category, know how to talk to them particularly, which I actually find a very spiritual concept and a beautiful concept, and a very humane concept. But I've not really seen anyone teach that lately. And so can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh, don't threaten me with a good time. So funny you should bring up poker.
Yeah.
I'm actually an amateurish professional poker player.
Are you?
I play a lot.
Okay.
And I'm relatively good. And the thing about poker is you're right. You know, you can use stats, but you'll never win the game off of stats alone, right?
Like card counting?
Exactly. You have to be able to read people.
Yeah.
If you can't, you're not really going to come out ahead.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really, really important to be able to get those reads really early. Yeah. Now, there was a gentleman by the name of Carl Jung in Germany who made some publications in 1928. Man, what a hard time to live in. But he was a brilliant guy who focused on human behavior. Now, I took a lot of what he did, as well as a lot of the research that came from that, developing disc profiles, for instance. And I found that there are 4 buyer archetypes. Technically, there are more, but there's really only 4 that you need to be concerned with. And it's the same across any industry. You know, if somebody is talking to you and everything they say is based in future logic, that's an archetype. And I can drill down certain characteristics about that person that are going to be true pretty much, you know, like 98% of the time. If there's somebody who is always focused on past emotion, that's somebody who's been hurt in the past, somebody who's been burned by a bad deal, somebody who wants to prevent that pain going forward.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to just listen to the first few sentences that they tell you, you can get a solid read on them. You'll know you need to close this client before they leave, or this one will actually come back.
With this methodology, what closing percentage can one expect roughly?
Ooh, what a loaded question.
Yeah, I know.
You put me in the hot seat on that.
I know, that's a big one.
You know, there's a lot more to close rates than just closing ability. You can be the strongest closer in the world.
Yeah.
But if you're selling Ferraris in a trailer park, you're not going to have a very good success rate.
Let me ask a better question, because you're 100% right. Let's just say a guy is selling consistently at a 20% close rate, which is respectable, at least I thought. And he implemented your methodology. Historically, what have you seen as far as the jump?
So I'm a big believer in under-promising and over-delivering.
Yeah, I respect
so
that.
I'll tell my students that they can expect to see at least a 25% jump.
Wow.
But realistically, many times it doubles, triples, or quadruples.
Yeah, geez. I mean, I did meet a guy, you know, the other day. He says I closed at 84%. I was like, and then, because what's crazy is that, like, when you, to me, if I'm like a salesperson and I hear, okay, you're gonna take me from 10,000 a month to 100,000 a month, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to take like so many more calls. I already work enough. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. But it's not necessarily that. It's like you're taking the same amount of calls, but you're closing double, triple of them, and even potentially at a higher rate. So that's exciting. I mean, gosh, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? I can't imagine a high better than that, than a higher closing ratio.
You know, when I was doing door-to-door sales, they would always tell me, if you knock on 100 doors, you're going to get 10 people that'll actually listen to you. Okay. You're going to close 3 of them.
Okay.
I thought that was the wisest knowledge I'd ever heard in my entire life.
Interesting.
Until I learned how to read people. And then my perspective changed.
You even do that door to door?
I started to learn it door to door, yes.
Oh, wow. So this is on the phone and in person?
On the phone and in person, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. That you were basically, when they told you that you're going to close 3%.
Oh, so, when I was able to start reading people and my close rates started to improve and I noticed that I was able to start targeting people, my perception changed. I'm like, why are you so generously wasting my time? Right?
Yeah.
The 3% rule, get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm embarrassed. I think I've handicapped historically my salespeople. I've traditionally told them, hey, man, 20, 25 is good. Wow. I set them up for failure.
Well, Akbar, come on, I wouldn't say that.
I mean,
it could come down to the qualification of the leads, right? And that's really important. It's one of the main reasons why I love working with you, because you're going to set up my funnel in a way that people are disqualifying themselves.
Yes.
So that when they do actually get onto the call, I am able to have an 85, a 90% close rate because they're all qualified.
Yes. No, that is true. That is true. And a lot of people, what do you say to like if a salesperson comes up to you and like, hey man, look, I mean, my boss or whatever, they're not using the appropriate filtration system. So I'm just, my lead quality is like, okay. How do you help them to kind of talk to their company about improving the lead quality?
That is a tricky question. So if you're unable to get them to improve the lead quality, you need to improve your life quality.
Wow.
Go somewhere else.
Wow.
If somebody doesn't see your value, go somewhere else. Let me give you a better example. So let's say I go to the store.
That, man. I really do.
I appreciate that.
Wait, waste your time, man. I'm Italian. If my boss doesn't want to see, if they're complacent, that means I'm complacent. I got bigger goals. They're not playing it. I'm out.
Well, try looking at it this way. Let's say I wanted to go and buy a beer. Okay. Yeah. If I go to the convenience store, it's going to cost me, I don't know. I don't buy beer that much. $2-3.
I have no idea.
Something around there. And then
I know when I do non-alcoholic beer, it's up to, it is in that world.
So then if I go to a bar, now it's going to run me $5, $8, $10, right? But if I go to a movie theater that serves dinner and drinks, now it's going to be $10, $15. If I go to Cirque du Soleil, it's $50.
How much? 50?
50.
Oh, wow.
50.
Really?
$50.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's wild.
If people don't see your value, go somewhere else.
I mean, if you got nothing from this podcast, I think at least get that. My good God. That is a good one. That is a really, really good one. I'm pretty fascinated about your game of, I keep thinking Game of Thrones, of your methodology. I'm very curious of what are the 4 different archetypes of people?
So I can't give away the secret sauce.
Yeah, I can respect that. Can we have one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think my favorite one would be the jester. This is
sounds like me.
Very, very misleading. Very misleading.
Okay, maybe not. Yeah.
And this is a person who's going to show up and they're going to come with rapport. You don't have to build it.
Interesting.
They're very easy to get along with. So your sales call is going to go really, really, really smooth.
Okay.
And this is the one that trips people up because they're like, oh my God, I have this amazing client. He's qualified. He has the need. He has the budget. He has the urgency. And then the deal dies.
Right.
Right. Well, the problem is they were using a logical approach for somebody who is only thinking emotionally. And those people generally are very flaky, right? So if you set a follow-up appointment with them, they'll accept it and they will have absolute high intent of showing up.
Yeah.
But the second they walk out of that room, it's gone.
Yeah.
They're very flaky. Wow. And so it can be very misleading.
Yeah. You gave me kind of like a verbal sneak peek behind the curtain, and I thought, it was very authentic, the way that you work with your clients, the way that you help salespeople hit the top, what is 1% or 1% in that realm. And what I really appreciate is in a day and age where like, people like yourself, they're trying to like automate and they're trying to like, streamline and they're trying to like, leverage, is that you still do that traditional, which I think is phenomenal, one-on-one with people.
It's so important. There's a lot of sales trainer, and I'm not trying to knock anybody.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of sales trainer out there that have a very cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
And I get it. If you're new to sales, that can give you a solid foundation. But everybody's got a different personality. Everybody's got a different archetype.
Yeah.
And so they do need specialized training. If you're talking to somebody who's already making 6 figures a year,
Yeah.
I would argue that they've already got that foundation. They probably just need a couple of tweaks. And if I put them into a virtual data room where they just watch a bunch of videos, they're not going to get what they need. They need customized guidance. Somebody hands-on who can walk through their calls and say, no, wait, stop, right there. This is what you need to change.
I am, for example's sake, if you're, even if you take a look at weight loss and stuff like that, it's anytime you try to improve yourself, sometimes it takes some time. But what I find it pretty interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you're teaching your students, it's like they can almost immediately see change because they're trying your new methodologies right away on their upcoming calls. And I bet you get these stories all the time where it's like, oh, wow, like they kind of just started with you and like, oh, wow, I took that call and it just felt so much better. And I actually closed an extra person. And I imagine that they see some progress pretty quickly.
They see progress very quickly. But I will say, while I do get some of those calls, a lot of them, it's usually followed up with, but it was uncomfortable and great. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's where that's where a lot of salespeople fail.
Yeah.
So we can use silence as a great example. If you give somebody a price, the common wisdom is the first person to speak loses. Okay? Yeah. Now let me explain that. What's actually happening is a psychological battle. Both people feel relatively uncomfortable. It's the one who is more uncomfortable, the one who can't deal with silence, who speaks first. When they do that, by definition, they are ceding power. So if you are comfortable being uncomfortable, just in that one scenario, that can increase your close rate dramatically.
It's funny you said that. I remember one time I did a price drop and then I was silent. And then I guess he kind of knew about that whole silent thing too. So he was silent. And I remember it was like 30 seconds. I think we were both playing that game. But me, I was like, I took my phone and I'm literally like, so I was taking like a video of myself and smiling because I was going to talk about it later in content. But like we were playing this game. And then I did win where, he buckled first. So that's interesting. To your point, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
It goes one level deeper though, because depending on the archetype of the person that you're talking to, a lot of these people, I would argue 20%, will actually talk themselves into the deal if you let them.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave a little silence there.
Yeah.
If you let them. I'm not a very religious person, but there's a salesman's prayer. And it's,
I didn't know that.
God, please help me to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, but most importantly, God, please tell me when to shut up. Right? Because if you give somebody a price, you've already built value correctly. You've already got the rapport. They have the budget, the urgency, everything is there for the deal.
Yeah.
What's going on in their mind is they're talking themselves into it, not out of it. When you interrupt them, you're killing your deal.
Wow. I think it'd be foolish. I'm super inspired, and I think it'd be really foolish not to get mentorship to go to the next level because it's just I'm just in this like short conversation so far. It's just so many nuggets, and it's like, what's your methodology? Like I'm a salesperson, and you have different levels, right? You help people that are new. You help people that are at 10K get a lot bigger. You have people help people go from 0 to 10K. Walk me through the methodology. I start working with you. What's our journey looking like together?
Custom.
Wow.
Custom.
Bespoke.
We will start with any foundational pieces that you are
Might be
missing.
like the first time I've ever heard that, actually. That's very refreshing.
Yeah. We'll start with any foundational issues that you may have.
Yeah.
But you may not be that person who's talking too much. You may not be that person who is uncomfortable with the silence. You may not be that person who doesn't know what to say, right? Everybody has their own issue. And if I give you a cookie cutter approach, you're going to get a cookie cutter result.
Wow. And it really is that. It's almost like, like I started with a trainer recently and he's like, I was like, yeah, should I, like eating thing. He's like, well, dude, I can't tell you what to eat. We need to do like a blood panel. We need to see what is going on in your body. Like maybe I tell you to have cheese. Your I don't know, your body might not react well with cheese. It might be like super inflammatory. So it's like, that's really the only way to get to do it properly is custom tailored approach. But I think you're pioneering this, I believe, in the sales industry where it's a more custom tailored approach as opposed to a lot of these. And again, to your point, I respect that. I'm not going to call anyone out, but a lot of these sales gurus, people are watching know who we're talking about, but it's just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Here's some videos, here's some group calls, cookie cutter approach. And you don't hear success stories from these like kind of bigger programs where like, oh man, we are now closing at 50% or what have you. I've never heard any of that.
One of my favorite stories was a car salesman that came to me. He was doing okay, making $40,000, $50,000 a year. I charged him $1,000 for one meeting.
Okay.
And I told him that I would increase his close. I would double his close rate.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I was able to do that in about 10 or 15 minutes. I gave him the full hour so he didn't feel like I wasted his time. But I'll give everybody out there a little nugget.
Yeah.
Basically, what I did is he was a strong salesperson, but he lacked the ability to get strong commitment. So what I did was I told him to grab a red index card and put it in his front pocket. Keep it so that the top inch is sticking out. And every time you're showing cars to people, just make sure that they see it. They will.
Yeah.
But after you do the test drive and you ask them, did you like this car? If we're able to work out the details, could you see yourself driving it for the next few years? When they say yes, I want you to reach into your pocket. I want you to pull out that red index card, and it's going to say in big black letters, sold. I want you to hand it to the customer and tell them, slide this under the windshield wiper. That way nobody else takes your car. Meet me in my office and we'll work out the details. Yeah. Now that's a strong commitment. Yeah. If they're not going to buy, they're going to tell you immediately. They're not going to put that red card underneath the windshield wiper. Yeah. So he went to work later that afternoon and made $500 it took him an hour, right? Yeah.
What do you teach about, what do you tell a salesperson who comes to you and because a lot of people have gotten bad training, wrong training. How much kind of deprogramming do you do in the sense where some salesmen are not necessarily ethical. They'll sell anything to anyone, even if it's not a good fit. What do you teach in that regard?
So really the most common time that I see this is people that get pigeonholed into industries. If you're only doing door-to-door sales, then you really only know how to do an impulse close.
Interesting.
If you're only doing enterprise sales, you don't even know what an impulse close is.
Right. It's like a 6-month journey or something, right?
So everybody really does take a custom approach.
You're helping door-to-door people, enterprise people, car dealers, high-ticket closers, phone, basically every spectrum. And you are able to do that because you've done most of that.
Yep. One of my favorite people in this world, Paul Getter, you know him.
Yeah.
He gave me some great advice. Whenever you're looking for a coach, there's 3 big red flags. Mm-hmm. Number 1, if all they do is coach, you should probably look for a different coach. Number 2, if they popped up out of nowhere, you should probably look for a different coach.
Right.
And number 3, if they don't have any reviews,
right,
they probably don't have any students. You should get yourself a different coach.
Yeah. Great 3 laws to go by for sure. It's a great 3 laws. And so speaking of reviews, talk to me about one of your favorite success stories that that one of your students has said about you, working with you guys.
That car salesman, was really one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't end up making, $1 million a year.
Yeah.
He was in his 20s, but he ended up making six figures in his 20s.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot better than
insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That is quite a story.
I would say, I really get a lot of joy from training the younger generation, because I feel like if I can train them sales abilities, give them confidence, the ability to speak and sell themselves, even if they don't go into sales, they have a much longer runway than my other students. So I can add a lot more value to their life.
I literally put a post on my Facebook yesterday saying, teach your kids sales skills. It'll serve them really well in life. And I believe that no matter what they do in life, because like you said, and I think I read from you that you said that really like everything is a sale. You convinced your husband or your wife to. It's pretty funny. You convinced someone that you've only known for a little bit to actually live with you and spend their life with you. I mean, that's a pretty wild sale if you think about it. It's like this almost like stranger who you just kind of met recently. Like, hey, I know we've just met 6 months ago or whatever, but why don't you just live with me and spend the rest of your life with me? Yeah, it's a pretty big sale.
Well, if you're trying to get all the hoodoo that I used to put a ring on my wife, it's not coming out in this interview.
Okay. Let's try. Yeah, because it is weird when people say, oh, no, sales. Like, how'd you get your job? How'd you get your car? How'd you get your wife? How'd you get your husband? Whatever. So you are really pioneering a custom-tailored, bespoke, one-on-one, taking that kind of, this anti-guru kind of approach, which is super respectful, getting your clients great results. How have their lives changed from starting to make a lot more sales?
Well, when you start making considerable money, you literally change the way you feed yourself. Right? You start eating better. You start sleeping better. You have the money to get rid of a lot of the problems that you don't want to deal with. Right? So I'll give you one of my personal flaws. I am horrible at housework. I'm horrible at it. Right? But I refuse to fight over my wife about it, and I refuse to have a dirty house. Right? I can be disciplined in other areas, but when I started making good money, first thing I did, hire a maid. Right? And that freed up more time for me to focus on my sales, make more money, and even spend more time with my family.
That's beautiful. And I think that, people in sales, they work hard. And I think they deserve to eat better, to sleep better, to have the clean house, to have those nice things like a maid, and if they like a nicer car or a nice watch. And I was saying that was one of the nicest watches I've ever seen.
I appreciate that.
And, I go to a lot of marketing conferences, a lot of online millionaires. So they got lots of really cool watches. But that was a striking, I just love that gold and green combination.
I really appreciate that. The one thing I would say is it's a lot easier to solve rich people's problems.
Like if somebody came up to you and they said, hey, define sales, what would you say?
That is how you interact with the world. Hard stop.
Wow.
That's how you interact with the world.
Wow.
It really doesn't matter who you're talking to or what you're doing, but there's some level of persuasion in that. If there's not, there's some level of rapport building. If not, there's some level of confidence, optimism. These are all foundational sales.
Yeah. I mean, that's really profound, man, because I think a lot of times salespeople sometimes get a negative rap. I think it's like, oh, he's just a salesperson. Or
sometimes they earn it.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But I've never heard anyone define it the way you just did, and I think that's really profound because it's the way you show up, in essence, and what you're really doing is helping people show up in a much better way. That the way someone does one thing is the way they do everything. So by you helping them increase their sales dramatically, you're also helping improve all aspects of their life, their health, their wealth, their relationships.
People tell you that money does not solve all your problems. Now, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it'll solve most of them.
Yeah. Yeah. They say money, what my first mentor told me, he said money, money will, money doesn't, what did they say? They said, money's not everything. They said, love makes the world, here's what they said. Love makes the world go round, but money pays for the trip.
I like that a lot.
That was a good one. I think that a lot of people need to know about you. So I'm very happy to have this because I think a lot of people give up. I think a lot of people plateau. I think a lot of people at 2 stages from 0 to their first 10K. I think a lot of salespeople don't make it and they quit. It's hard. They're uncomfortable being uncomfortable. They can't figure out the formula. They quit. And which sucks is because sales can be a pretty, I mean, not to be like cheesy, but a lot of salespeople make more than doctors, which is pretty wild. I mean, you yourself have made over $40 million. I don't know any doctor or anyone who's done anything like that. You helping people salvage their sales career or really 10x their sales career. If you had one message that you can only say to aspiring salespeople and people who are trying to grow their sales career, what would you say to them?
Nothing worthwhile is ever easy. Nothing worthwhile is ever easy. I find that in the places where I am the most uncomfortable, and I want to be crystal clear, it is very hard to make me uncomfortable. When I'm in those places, I'm making money.
Yeah.
I'm making deals. I'm making progress. That is where progress happens, when you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, excellent, man. This is, I've had the privilege of interviewing some pretty amazing people, but this is, it's going to take me a minute because I've been in sales. I've closed millions myself. I have not looked at sales the way that you have brought to the table. And I have seen how small we've been playing and how we really need to talk more with you and have you come train our people. I think that this is a real key that you have that can unlock unbelievable opportunities that can help so many of us make more, to give more, and to live better lives because we work hard, we deserve it. And so thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for coming here today.
That is so humbling, especially coming from you, Akbar.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Appreciate you. So, you go to like Instagram and all these social media reels, and there's all these like gurus kind of be like, all right, this is how you handle an objection. What do you think of all that? Do you think they're saying the right things?
Okay. So that's an awesome question. Thank you so much. First, what we focus on expands. So I don't want to, again, knock any of those other salespeople. I have a lot of respect for them. But if you are learning how to handle objections from somebody, you are expanding, again, objections. So you're going to start to notice them in places they were never before. Now, you may have the answer for it or whatever, right? But it's still an objection, or you're still caught in the cycle of your client resisting. So I teach a different methodology. Okay, if you're having objections, sure. I mean, I'll help you show how to counter them. But if you use a different approach, then objections completely melt away. They become irrelevant because they see the pain of where they're at, and the goal of where they want to be and how you can get them there. So those objections are absolutely irrelevant.
So in other words, the best way to handle objections is to set up the call situation where there are no objections.
And not just that, don't spend your days role playing how to handle objections. Otherwise, you're going to start finding them everywhere.
I forgot, what was that part of that brain that like if I want a red car, all of a sudden I start seeing red cars? It's that kind of theory. Okay, fantastic. Wow, that's a much, because I actually have done that in webinars before, whereas like I kind of knew all their objections, so I answered all of them in the webinar so that when they get on the phone with us, they don't have those.
Bingo.